In today's movie, we're going to recap a drama thriller called Devil's Pond, a movie released in 2003. The film kicks off with a nice wedding sequence. Our main characters, Julianne and her partner Mitch, decide to get married after dating each other for less than a year. Following the heartfelt vows, Mitch shows his appreciation to Julianne's mom for orchestrating the festivities. He also gives a shout out to his dad for not showing up at the wedding, maybe because they're not on great terms or his old man's swamped with work. Right after the wedding festivities, the lovebirds set off on a 2-week honeymoon on a distant island. Mitch shares that he stumbled upon this hidden paradise about a year ago when he went on a hunting trip with his dad. The island lacks contemporary amenities like electricity or internet access, so it's more of an ancient cottage in the middle of an isolated lake. Julianne seems uneasy with the idea of being on their own in a house by the water, but Mitch makes it clear that they'll be safe. They hop on a boat and steer through the water to reach the cottage in the middle of the lake. Although Mitch said the owner guaranteed that there would be phone service there, Julianne can't reach her mom. Mitch suggests going back, but Julianne really wants to keep the adventure going, not letting this minor setback stop them. Entering the small house, Julianne's attention is drawn to the writings on the walls, scribbled by someone named SR. She also notices that people use hash marks to count their days there. Everything seems ordinary until the next day dawns. Julianne wakes up and sees Mitch securing his truck keys inside a metal safe box. He keeps the key around his neck, as if it were a pendant. Instead of asking about it, she simply lets it go. With her background in art, Julianne soon immerses herself in her sketches and drawings. She wants to concentrate on her artistic development before becoming a parent, and Mitch apparently backs her choice. Later that day, Julianne feels like stepping into the water, but it looks like fear gets the best of her, so the girl steps back to the house. On another day, Mitch asks her to come into the water with him, but she turns him down, saying she doesn't want to mess up her makeup. When Mitch insists, she seems really nervous about it, but eventually agrees to lay down on an inflatable raft. As time goes by, Julianne dozes off. As Mitch makes his way indoors to get himself another beer, the raft slowly starts to spring a leak. Things take a scary turn as Julianne accidentally ends up in the water, struggling to keep herself above the surface. Mitch jumps into action, pulling her out of the water just in time. That's when his wife tells him about her inability to swim, which is why she fears water. Mitch feels sorry and admits he wouldn't have brought her there if he had known about it. The next day, Julianne brings up the locked safe box and asks why he's so protective of his belongings. Mitch downplays it, saying it's just a safety thing, but irritation creeps into his voice as he scolds her, saying that he never questioned her makeup choices, so she shouldn't poke around in his affairs. Julianne gets bothered by his weird behavior and heads back inside the cabin. Realizing he messed up, Mitch tries to fix things and apologizes by putting together an easel for her. Later on, Mitch decides to hunt something for them to eat, so they explore the woods nearby together. Julianne brings up the idea of going to the nearby town for shopping and to get in touch with her mom, who must be worried about her. Mitch appears distracted and ignores her suggestion, putting his attention on setting up an animal trap instead. Suddenly, the guy freaks out for a moment when he thinks Julianne has disappeared, but he soon finds her picking flowers. Mitch guides her back to the cabin and gives up on his hunting idea. Julianne appears restless, as if she's had enough of that place already. The next day rolls in, and she brings up the idea of heading back home, saying that 10 days among nature is plenty. Excited about starting their life together, she pushes Mitch to pack up and mentions that she really misses her mom. Mitch's blunt comeback catches her off guard. He says they can't leave until their full 2-week honeymoon is completed. Julianne can't wrap her head around Mitch's attitude and keeps on pushing to leave, which finally sets Mitch off. He explodes in anger, pinning the blame on her and her mom for spoiling their honeymoon. He demands that she stick to his plan, then storms off to see how his traps are doing. Feeling desperate to get her hands on the truck keys, which are locked up tight in his safe box, Julianne lets off steam by tossing and breaking things around. After realizing he messed up, Mitch heads back to the cabin and says he feels sorry. The next day, Julianne notices her birth control pills have disappeared from her bags. She calls Mitch out on it, but he claims to have no idea what happened to them. This triggers another big fight between them, with Julianne saying she can't stay there without her pills. Mitch disagrees, thinking being married means they can take some risks on that matter. As Julianne keeps pushing to go back, Mitch's tone starts to get scary. He tells Julianne to listen up and makes it clear that they're not heading home. Seeing a big shift in how Mitch is acting, Julianne understands that she needs to go, even if it means going home by herself. While Mitch goes off hunting, she tries to leave by getting into the water, but her fear stops her. The next morning, Mitch gets up and can't find his wife anywhere. But when he heads out, he spots her fishing all by herself in the middle of the lake. While she's not around, he takes some of her art and tries to stash it in the safe box. However, Julianne shows up just in time and catches him right in the act. As Mitch drops the box, she picks up a piece of tissue paper from his stuff and notices a bird drawing on it. The tissue turns out to be from the place she used to go with Anthony, her ex. Given that Julianne and Mitch first met outside that restaurant when he was waiting for a bus, she starts suspecting that it might not have been a random encounter. She asks how long he stalked her for, but Mitch simply says that Julianne's a pretty girl. He admits to having seen her around the area a few times, but he swears he never stalked her. Since they've been gone for 2 weeks already, Julianne insists they head back home. Yet again, Mitch puts his foot down and refuses, starting another fight. Julianne then points out that Anthony, her ex, would never act recklessly like that. This comment flips a switch in Mitch. His rage takes over, and he gets physically aggressive. Julianne defends herself and strikes him on the head with a glass bottle, stunning him. She takes her phone and rows to the other side of the lake, using the boat. In the meantime, Mitch recovers himself and swims after her. Her attempt to call her mom fails when her phone dies on her, leaving Julianne no choice but to make a run for it, trying to get as far from him as she can. On her way around, she comes across a grave, clueless about who might be resting there. Soon after, she hears Mitch calling her name, so the woman hides behind a tree. Unfortunately, Mitch ends up spotting her, and Julianne acts as if she's all confused, making it look like she's going through some kind of breakdown. In the dead of night, while Julianne's asleep, Mitch goes outside and destroys her only method of leaving the island. He purposely sinks the boat. The next morning, Julianne wakes up and asks about the boat. Mitch just casually says that it probably sank. Frustrated, Julianne channels her anger into painting, and that's when she spots a boat cushion floating in the lake. As Mitch plays the guitar, she realizes that it could be a way to cross to the other side of the lake, so she sneakily tries to get it using a fishing line. Mitch gets a bit suspicious of her, but Julianne manages to hide the cushion before he can catch on. On that very day, Mitch grabs his truck keys and heads toward the town, saying he's got some stuff to handle there. In truth, he's actually on his way to the grave that Julianne stumbled upon earlier. Analyzing her options, Julianne decides to spend the night with her husband, biding her time until he is fast asleep. When the moment is right, she takes his key and manages to open the safe box. Much to her amazement, Julianne finds the house deed among the papers. The document reveals that Mitch's dad is the sole proprietor of that place, and the enigmatic markings on the walls were simply his last name, Sr. With no time to waste, Julianne takes the keys and crosses the lake, using the cushion as a makeshift life preserver. Sadly, when she gets to the truck, the car simply won't start. Off in the distance, she spots a beam of light from a flashlight, and the girl realizes that Mitch is up and also getting closer by the minute. Suddenly, Mitch appears by the car window. With Mitch's gun in hand, she tries to take control of the situation, ordering him to fix the car. As he vanishes behind the hood, she becomes unaware of his position. All of a sudden, he breaks the car window. The next morning, Julianne wakes up and finds herself shackled to a tree on the island. Mitch's demeanor officially enters full-on creepy mode. As he rips up the flotation device, he shares information about his past and his old man. He says that his dad was always pressuring him to get married and start a family. Mitch reveals that after his father gave him a hard time during a hunting trip, he snapped, ending his own father's life. It becomes evident that the grave nearby actually belongs to his dad. The man keeps taking out his anger by trashing Julianne's stuff, her tools, and even the easel he made her. In the meantime, Julianne simply sits under the sun, wondering why she married that man. Julianne starts acting weird, and she finally understands that the whole marriage and honeymoon were no accident. Mitch planned everything. She realizes that Mitch already knew there was no phone service there and that she couldn't swim. The man does not attempt to deny it and simply states that he loves her. Later on, rain begins pouring down, and Julianne begs Mitch to set her free. Unluckily, her husband seems comfortable with the idea of staying on the island forever, even talking about starting a family there. Julianne then decides to fight back. She lights up an entire matchstick box on purpose. Her game plan is to make Mitch go to town for supplies. This way, she can try to escape while he's away. At first, Mitch refuses to go, but he gives in when he realizes they can't cook without matches. So, with Mitch out of the picture, Julianne goes for her freedom. She uses a fishing net to get an axe she'd seen in the water earlier. Soon after, she successfully frees herself from the chain around her leg. Then she finds the leaky raft and patches it up to prevent it from leaking again. After inflating it, she begins crossing the lake. Meanwhile, Mitch's truck breaks down, which really annoys him. He uses the car lighter as a replacement for the matchsticks and begins walking back to the lake. Surprisingly, instead of running away, Julianne grabs the animal trap and returns to the cabin, where she sets it up in a strategic place. By the time Mitch returns, her plan is in motion. Her husband shares with her that the truck broke down, so Julianne expresses her concern about what they would do if something bad happened. Mitch simply reassures her that everyone will be safe. Minutes later, as Mitch goes inside, he notices water dripping from the chair, a clear sign that Julianne has been up to something. Shortly after, he sees the raft on the shore. Enraged, Mitch begins attacking her. With a knife in his hands, he ends up hurting her face. Julianne rushes into the house, trying to defend herself, but Mitch is right on her tail. The man throws her out of the house and soon begins pushing her around, promising to end her life. After Mitch gets the chain wrapped around her neck, Julianne burns him with a cigarette. As he stumbles back, Mitch accidentally steps right into the animal trap. Julianne seizes her chance. She hits him with a wood log and snatches the key off his neck. Just as she grabs the shotgun, Mitch comes to his senses and uses all his strength to pull her towards him. Right at the moment Mitch tries to poke her with a knife, she fires the shotgun. Now weak and one arm short, Mitch is officially defeated. Instead of finishing her psycho husband, Julianne secures the chain around the gun. She places it within reach of Mitch, giving him the choice to put an end to his own suffering. Conquering her fear of the water, Julianne goes into the lake and swims with all her might to the other shore. Minutes later, a gunshot echoes through, a sign that Mitch has put an end to his misery. Following that, Julianne lights up a cigarette. She then abandons her wedding ring in the truck, a clear symbol that she's now free from her controlling husband. She sets out for the town, ready to see her family again after enduring weeks of agony. Thanks for watching. If you like our content, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe.